Howdy. Welcome to Sylvie's Runcast. When I got here, I parked my bike, and when I parked my bike, my fan club, as Karahat calls them, there's a bunch of dogs in that area. They all run up because they want the treats. So I stand there, and there's like a hierarchy and a mix of very bold dogs and very shy dogs, and I want to make sure they all get treats. So it takes a quick minute to organize everything. And I was standing in a damn anthill the entire time I was trying to handle this snack situation, and I got bit by like 30 little ants that were just swarming all around my ankles. Now my ankles are disgusting and like covered in little hive bumps. I'm allergic to ant bites, so they're super painful and itchy. And I am not a happy camper right now on this run, but the dogs got treats, and that's the important part. So mission accomplished there. Just complaining about my ankles. I have started a new thing, which I'm very, very excited about. So when I first came to Thailand, I was at Lana camp up in Chiang Mai. There's a Lana camp now that Boon Lana was a fighter at Giat Busaba, which is the same gym, when he was young, and he came and he bought it from Palm. And so now the Lana Muay Thai camp that exists in Chiang Mai is not the one that I was at, but it is owned and operated and the child of a former fighter for Giat Busaba, which is Lana. Anyway, when I was at Lana, Palm and Andy were who started it and were running it at the time. And Andy is a Scottish-Canadian man, was a Scottish-Canadian man. He's passed away very sadly. But he was amazing. When I first met him, he was like just very, like, his mind was constantly hungry for like new stuff. He was like we call him the mad scientist of the mountain, because he had this hill camp and he was always just trying new stuff. Like he got really into, I'm not going to say his name right, but Pavel Sasalin. Pavel, I'm sure everyone knows online. He was way into him, and he's doing these like pistol squats and all this stuff that he's showing me, and like different routines that he wanted me to do after each fight, which I wish I had kept doing, because I've lost a lot of mobility in the 13 years that I've been fighting in Thailand. But he's also really into this thing that I misunderstood at the time. I thought was also Pavel, but it's become a book. It was published actually after Andy was talking about it, so he must have gotten to it in some kind of like PDF, like bootleg version or something. It's called the Supple Leopard, and I bought it because I miss Andy, because I was kind of honoring things that he taught me, and also I was like, hey, I probably should have done a lot of stuff that Andy taught me and didn't, so how about I read the stuff that Andy was reading and see if I can like figure some of this out. This book's amazing. So he basically is teaching how human movement works, and I recognize a lot of this stuff in here as being what Felix is doing with Karahat and his rehab, and I'm like, oh, so like this is how you like rebuild an athlete, except he's writing about it about like, hey, how about you just do it in the first place instead of like as rehab? How would you structure your movement correctly? And so it's things that like I've actually never heard of, but are immediately like intuitively, I'm like, oh yes, this is very helpful, such as like screwing your hands or feet into the ground on a push-up or a squat. I've been working on stacking my torso when I'm standing, and I was really struggling recently. Oh man, it got really bad, where I don't feel like I'm not strong. Like I still have all the strength that I think of myself as having. Like my bench press is good, my chest presses, my squats, blah blah blah. Like weightlifting is all good, but I feel like I can't access that strength when I need it. When I'm like doing pad work with Crew Guy or sparring with Yod Kun Pan, or even clinching with kids who like they're my weight or slightly more than me, but like I was really struggling strength-wise, and I'm like, I don't struggle strength-wise. Like I'm very strong. That's kind of who I am. So I was having like an identity crisis and wondering if like something's wrong with me or whatever the thing is, which I don't know. You know, things change as you age and move into different things, and you know, like whatever. Also, the people that you train with change, and so you might not have changed anything at all, and they bring something new to it, and all of a sudden you're like, what's wrong with me? I can't, blah blah blah. And it's got nothing to do with you, honestly. So I was trying to like mitigate my terror in my head about what was going on. But when I started reading this book and doing this stacking thing, I was like, you know what? I think it's my damn posture. I do believe it's my posture that's causing all these problems. And so just starting yesterday, I skipped pad work because I just am dying against crew guy. And I decided to just test this in my weightlifting and in my sparring with Gyodkun Pan, because in my sparring, I can only focus on footwork and posture and not care whether I get any strikes off or if I'm getting hit a lot or whatever the thing is, because I'm able to mentally do that because I've worked on it. That's a thing that you learn, that's a skill. And I just voiced the lock-in session, which will be out very soon. Might be out already by the time you guys are watching this. But when I was voicing it, I was realizing so much that the pad work that I was doing with lock-in, I was looking at pad work wrong for 13 years, which is that, like, I've told people it's not a word association game, so you don't have to hit the pad the moment you see it. Like, wait until you're in the correct distance, wait until you're ready, then throw the shot, this kind of thing. So I had like half of the equation, which is like, throw the strike when you're ready to throw it instead of like just immediately when you see it, because it's not actually important. It's not like salt, pepper, like you don't have to do this in pad work. That's not what pad work is for. But the second part of it that I really realized when I was voicing the lock-in session, not even when I was in the lock-in session with him, although he was kind of trying to express this to me, he just wasn't like saying exactly this to me, so I didn't get it, is that the point of pad work, if you have a good pad holder, is mostly distance control and staying over your feet and moving your feet all the time. And hitting the pad is like the fifth thing behind a bunch of other things that you actually need to be doing in pad work. It's the last part of what you should be focusing on. And so I got really into this idea of doing that in my sparring. And so I brought this posture thing into my weightlifting, and it was fantastic. It was shoulder day, so a lot of just like standing and doing, you know, like lat raises and things like that, which is very easy to control your posture and do those things because you're just moving your upper limbs and you don't have to like totally control your spine to lift yourself in the air with like a pull-up or squat or something like that. So today was harder because today was legs, and it was harder to do my posture with legs. But yesterday it was great, and I was doing an upright row, and my trainer Johnny, I've struggled with the upright row forever. Like, I really hate it. So hating it makes me hate it while I'm doing it. Not particularly try to do it really well, but when I stacked myself first and then did it, Johnny's eyes got big and he was like, "Did you secretly work on this weight lifting when I wasn't teaching you for the past week?" And I was like, "No, I actually just set my core. Like, I engaged my core, and now I can actually do it upright." Because I had been like booming, I had been crunching. And another thing that Lock-in was complaining to me about during the entire time he was training me was that I like crunched too much. And then we actually filmed like 6 sessions in the past week, and everyone was like, "Quit crunching, like stand up straight," which is a thing I know about Muay Thai, is that the posture is really important. And not only is it your root is important for scoring and that kind of thing, but there is an air of like dignity and dominance, like who's winning in exchange, and especially in the clinch, who's winning. A lot of it has to do with posture. Like, you don't want your posture broken. So I'm like crunching around, like already putting myself in a terrible position. And when I got into sparring with Gyodkun Pan, and even in the weightlifting, I could feel like a slight increase in strength just by having better posture. But when I got into sparring with Gyodkun Pan, setting my posture first and keeping that posture as like the main thing I was doing, and then footwork after that, and then distance control after that, and then last thing being throwing any strikes or blocking anything, which I did very well. It just was last on the list. I felt amazing. And Gyodkun Pan was like, "Holy shit, I can't even fight you today. Like, what is happening?" And when we got into a clinch situation, which has been the thing that's been panicking me, that I have like no access to my strength when I'm clinching, because I've been kind of like this, and you don't have any power when you're doing that. I stayed upright and I just started like controlling his arms. And all of a sudden I was just totally locking him out. And I was like, "Damn, that's awesome." He didn't say anything. He didn't have to say anything. I could feel it. But I was like, this solves a lot. So the whole moral of all of this that I've been talking about is that unfortunately, I did kind of do the Joe Rogan scientific method around this, which is that a number of things changed all at once when I started doing that posture thing. So I don't know how much impact that alone had in what I was doing, because there were a few other variables involved that might have affected it. You know, not going to pad work first is a change. The way I ate the night before had changed, and you know, a number of things that, again, you can't add a bunch of elements where you have no control, because when you are a subject of one, there's no control study. So I don't know. It helped a lot. It seemed like it helped a lot. I could feel a difference with the posture, so I know that it made a huge impact, and I'm really into it. I'm not very deep into the book yet, so there's a lot of things still to learn, a lot of examples that he gives of like literally how to do your posture, and like the arrangement of movements for each of these different movements. But that alone, like suddenly applying this kind of like rule set to a bunch of different movements, I was like, this all makes sense. When I think about when we were filming with Mong Chai, who's a WBC world champion, when you see him or Samson like throw their cross, they have this incredible like cross hatch of movement where they're controlling their body on the still side, and then as the cross is coming around, they're kind of like folding into that other side. And this totally makes sense in the mechanics of the external rotation and things like this that is in this book. So I like understanding these different principles and applying them to different things, and I'm starting to think about it in terms of like, okay, well, how do you apply that to a gallop, or how do you apply that to a knee, and that kind of thing. So I feel like I'm Andy a little bit, the mad scientist of the mountain, reading the published version of something that he probably was getting off of the internet at the time, and getting really excited about it, and in my experimentations having a lot of success with it. So that's very, very cool. It makes me very happy. And then that's the physical side. I think when you change your posture, you change a lot of things without realizing how many things had to do with that posture. And so you might accidentally change your posture for a number of reasons. A person taller than you or a person shorter than you might impact your posture, and then you think that something is happening to your moi without realizing it's literally just your posture that's causing all of those things. But a second thing, so that's the physical thing. Then there's also a mental thing that happened that Arjan Gimyu, who's incredible, he's been teaching Muay Thai for 60 years. He's turning 83 in December. He has just touched every single amazing fighter. So many people, when we go and film with them from the Muay Thai library, they'll mention like, Gimyu taught me this, or like I was affected in this way by Gimyu, or like he influenced me in this way. He's just very, very influential for 60 years, which is incredible. One of his first students was Oruchanoi, who was the people's champion, or the poor man's champion, like the 70s. It goes so far back. It's incredible. Anyway, I was shadowboxing because I didn't have a clinch partner. So I was shadowboxing for like 45 minutes at Rambaz, and Gimyu just sat and watched me the entire time and just like showered me with praise for 45 minutes while I was shadowboxing. And part of this is because I'm doing things that he's taught me, because obviously he's like amazing. And secondly, I was doing a lot of things that Lak Hin had just taught me, and Lak Hin was one of his students. So I was like one removed doing things that he agrees with that he's never actually taught me, but I learned from Lak Hin. And then he would be like, oh, excellent, the way that you're staying over your feet is exactly what you should be doing. And I'm like, yeah, because your student just yelled at me about this the other day, and I'm finally feeling it, and I have the posture to be able to keep my feet moving. Hi, honey. Can I give you a treat? Can I give you this, honey? Avi's shy. I won't touch you. I won't touch you. You can have it. You can have that. Good girl. See, there's the shy ones. What was I saying? Oh, so Arjan Gimyu has said to me a number of times, I've known him for many years now. He said to me many times, like, oh, you should open a gym and you should teach kids. Like, you know all the basics, you can teach all the basics. And I'm like, this is nice, because basics are very important. And I know that he's complimenting me and saying, like, you can teach these things. You should now transition into this, like, teaching, and it makes sense to teach kids and blah, 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 and all this stuff. And because I don't want to open a gym and become a teacher, I always just kind of like, oh, thank you, like it doesn't really get in there super well. But yesterday, a thing that he said to me as I was shadowboxing around and he was complimenting me is he was like, when you open your gym, because now he just assumes I'm going to, he's like, and the young boys watch you, they will learn so much from just watching your shadowbox, so you should just shadowbox in front of them as an instructive thing. And I kind of like categorized it with, I put it in the same like outbox that I normally do when he tells me I should open a gym and teach and this kind of thing. And it wasn't until actually I had left the gym and was driving, I was replaying things in my head, and I was like, this is actually an incredible compliment that I didn't register as such at that moment. But to say that my movement, my shadowboxing no less, is so correct and so beautiful and so whatever that it could be instructive for young boys, which to Arjan Gimyu, this is who real fighters are. Not because he's totally sexist, but because in reality, the world he comes from, boys are the only ones who actually have any opportunity. They're the only ones who have any future. Entertainment Muay Thai with women having this, like, you can fight in Lumpini and Rashidamnern is incredibly new. And it's not even standard Muay Thai. So, like, he doesn't think about that. He often, when he's complimenting me, is like, oh, it's a shame that you're a woman. Because if you were a man, you could be Yod Muay. You could be doing all these things. If you were younger, it'd be amazing. All of these things. Like, if I had this different road ahead of me. Which it feels a little like backhanded compliment, but it's also true. Like, these things are very true. So for him to say that my shadowboxing is so good and so instructive and so correct and all of these things, the young boys could learn from it so that they could go and have great opportunities out of it, is actually, weirdly, a beautiful, amazing compliment. And I think I kind of like realized this as I was driving. And I was like, you know what? I really should start letting these things in a little bit, because it's valuable to me, and it actually could help when I'm having like crippling anxiety and self-doubt and things like that. And so I went and I wrote it in my mental training journal and realized that my last entry was like May 25th, which was another like, hey Sylvie, get your shit together. Just for reference, it was August 1st yesterday, so it's been a while since I wrote in my mental training book. And this whole thing where I'm like, oh, I'm learning these foundational movements and principles and kind of organizing your body in order to be able to have more power, to be able to access your power, in order to move better, all of these things, that's all physical. All of that has an exact version that's mental, that's like mental hygiene in a way, that's like the way your thoughts process, the way you organize your thoughts, the way you let compliments in without making it a like, I'm cocky now or whatever the thing is. Like, and again, the like, oh, it would be so great if you were a man instead of a woman because you would have all these opportunities or whatever the thing is. I think there are also ways of thinking that we're kind of conditioned to because of our gender and because of whatever culture we come from, which is, I have like an absolute horrifying fear of confidence. And like, confidence is the good version, like I kind of immediately equate confidence with cocky, but not in other people, in me. Like, I'm afraid of being cocky or thinking too much of myself or whatever these things are. So I just cut it way, way low, like actually just have no confidence, which is horrendous and does not help at all. And so it's a similar thing to having like a poor form in my gooming. Like if I don't even have the confidence to keep my chest up and stand tall, I'm just going to be weak and shriveled and whatever this thing is. Like, I don't know what actually was causing me to crunch so much. I suspect it's a combination of, I've been doing a lot more boxing, and when you think of a boxer, you just kind of think of someone who's a little bit more crouched, so maybe I just assumed that position for no reason. And also, I've been kind of trying to do this touch thing that I learned from Chatpon, which if I look at Chatpon, his chest is still up. He's not doing it the way I'm doing it. I again, it's like you look at someone doing a deadlift and you don't actually understand the mechanics of it. And so you go and you round your back and you like have your knees lock in and try to lift something, and you may accomplish lifting the bar. And so you think that you've done it. You're like, well, the achievement is to lift the bar, and I lifted the bar, but you've done it actually horribly. And instead, going and getting mechanically it all put together and then lifting the bar is a much better way to do it. Getting my posture and then being able to do the grab, or getting my posture and then being able to cover space or footwork, or having confidence to stand in that space instead of leaping in with my eyes closed and covering myself and just like hoping for the best. These are all things that take a lot of awareness, self-awareness, spatial awareness, and practice. Like, you have to practice all of those things. I can't read this book, understand all of these different things, and like, oh, I should screw my feet into the floor and then just not do it. Like, I have to now do it every single time so that it becomes automatic. When I was fixing my posture before starting each round with Yod Kumpan, of course it falls apart at some point in that round, and I have to do it each time, and it takes a little bit of time because I have to like think of each stage to do it. But the more you practice it, the faster it's going to happen. You can get into it much faster. And then again today, many things changed. Again, the Joe Rogan scientific method. I have no idea what the full effect was because many things changed all at once. But today I had less success with my posture in sparring with Yod Kumpan. And I think part of it was that I was like, well, yesterday was so good. Now I can focus on other things also. Like, now I'll also try to do this, you know, whatever other thing I was working on. And it took my mind off of the posture a little bit, which is what was causing the like base of the pyramid to be so strong yesterday in all of the successes that I had. So I need to go back and kind of focus on that again harder. And you know what? It's like Sing Dam when we filmed with him for the Muay Thai library, and he talked about how much he hated Muay Thai when he was first starting, when he was little, because he just had to march for like 4 months. Nobody taught him anything. He just had to do like marching blocks for 4 months. And I complimented Kong Toranese, like left hook that he does. He has this beautiful slip and then left hook that I was noticing in a lot of his fights. And he was like, I did only that for a month. So I was like, that makes sense. You just work 1 month on this one thing, like slip over left hook, to get the whole thing so that you don't have to think about it. I got distracted by that car. Okay, I'll finish this up, get back to my running, and thank you guys for listening to my run.